Hey guys, this is the second part for the top 5 favorite weapons. So if you haven't seen the first one, we were doing melee weapons. So we're doing magic weapons this time. Yeah. So magic weapons are actually my favorite class. So yeah, before we get started, we'll be using the Spectre armor and menacing are all of our accessories. So let's get started with number 5. So on the number 5 spot, we have the Shadow Beam Staff. So the reason I like this weapon is just like how fun it is to use. It bounces off walls and does about 70 damage. And yeah, it's best if you use it in confined spaces because it bounces off walls. So I recommend using it in the dungeon. It's really good against like large groups if you just bounce it off everything. You can just see like how many lasers there are. It's also really good for like going around corners, and I just get a slime staff right here, which is pretty awesome. It's a drop from the Necromancer, which also spawns inside the dungeon. So, but you do have to defeat Terraria to unlock the heart of the dungeon. It also just looks, just look how cool it looks. So yeah, that's the number 5. Let's move on. So on the number 3 spot is the bubble gun. Now, first things first, this thing is just a damage dealing machine. Like, it will obliterate anything in its path. Like, you don't even just look at this thing. Anything it touches is just gone. Just watch. Yep, gone. Watch how fast I destroy this paladin. And just like that, I even get a paladin shield. Yeah, this thing is not that hard to get. It's one of the drop chances from Duke Fishron, and all of its weapon chances are the exact same, so you're not gonna have too hard of a time trying to get this thing. But once you get it, it's just so good. You can like destroy bosses like just almost instantly. Like I tried this thing with the Eye of Cthulhu, destroyed it in like 3 seconds. Yeah. The bubbles also burst out at a burst of 3, so you can just have a 300 damage shotgun. That's pretty much what it is, an automatic 300 damage shotgun. Dude, another thing to point out is the amount of mana it uses. It uses 3 mana. Like, do you know how little that is? You could just spray almost forever if you use the Spectre armor. So yeah, this thing is crazy. So let's get on to the number 3 spot. Alright, on the number 3 spot, we have the Razor Blade Typhoon. So, this weapon is best off for multiple enemies, so this thing is extremely helpful for events when there's many enemies. They follow each player. You hit them multiple times, as you can see. So this is, once again, another drop from the Duke Fishron. It's not that rare to get. And it does so much damage. It's also really good for, like, let's say the lunatic cultist. Yeah, it's best for if you want to do multiple enemies, so it's also good for the dungeon since it bounces around a lot. It also uses a lot of mana, so you're gonna want to bring a lot of mana potions too. Bring it on to the number 2 spot. And on number 2 we have the Razor Pine, which in my opinion is basically a better version of a bubble gun since it has more range and it does about the same damage. Dude, this thing also just sprays tons of razors. It's a pretty rare drop from the Everscreen, which I get one right here, as you can see. It is actually a pretty rare drop, but it's a really good late game, end game weapon. So you're gonna be able to take out most things with this, since its DPS is like ridiculous as well. It's like the range does fall off at the end of the screen though, so you do still have limited range with this thing. Overall, this thing is also another amazing magic weapon, and I think it's time to move on to the number 1 spot. Alright, the number 1 spot, which is the Blizzard Staff. This thing is basically the bubble gun, and the Razor Pine on crack. This thing is good. You can stretch anywhere on the screen, and it does literally the most ridiculous DPS like you're ever gonna see. it just obliterates everything. It rains down icicles from the sky, doing like 120 damage, which is ridiculous. Oh, this thing uses like a ton of mana, so mana potions is definitely important for this weapon. Yeah, the only problem with this thing is it's not really good for indoors, especially like in the dungeon where the icicles are going to be hitting the walls instead of where they are. Yeah, this thing is it's a crazy rare drop from the Ice Queen. So yeah, it's going to be pretty tough getting this thing. You're going to have to do a lot of grinding to get this weapon, since it's also, the Ice Queen doesn't come until like a little later round, so not only are you going to have to like go through the rounds, you're going to have to like, and then be lucky enough to actually get it. But yeah, this is number 1. But we do have a couple more honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, but I thought they were pretty important to include in there since they were also really good. Alright, the first honorable mention is the Inferno Fork. So I do think this weapon is better than the Necromance, Shadow Beam Staff. But I like the Shadow Beam Staff more because this one is more. The Shadow Beam Staff is more fun to use. Since this one, you just, it's typical magic weapon. Shoot a beam, explodes, does damage. So yeah, although it does do more damage than the Shadow Beam Staff, I don't think it's a pretty boring weapon. So yeah. Alright, the next honorable mention is the Unholy Trident, which is a really rare drop from the Red Devil, which spawns in the Underworld. Yeah, this weapon, it's just another fun weapon. It might not be like that amazing, but it's another fun one. It pierces through many enemies with this Red Devil Fork, what the Red Devil shoots out. See, it does like 100 damage per shot, but it is pretty slow. See, I think this weapon is pretty decent. It's really fun to use, and that's pretty much it. Alright, the next honorable mention is the Nimbus Staff, which is dropped by the Nimbus Cloud. So, this is basically a really good early hard mode weapon, because the Nimbus Cloud is what we get it from. It spawns as soon as you get into hard mode. So if you're lucky enough to get this thing, then yeah, you're pretty much set for early hard mode. Like, just look at the Nimbus Cloud. Like, it's destroying it. It's literally destroying the destroyer. Like, it's gonna die it dies, yep, just like that. Look how quickly, just with the Nimbus Staff. Which if you're lucky, you can get this thing pretty early on in the game, so. Yeah, it's not amazing for late hard mode, but early hard mode, this thing is a monster. But alright, that is all we have for today. These are all my favorite, magic weapons, so. Stay tuned for favorite ranged weapons, because that will be out in a couple weeks. We'll see. So yeah, anyways, guys, see you later. Thanks for watching.